As Above, So Below is a 2014 found footage horror film that has been tearing up the catacomb tour guide business like Taco Bell at 4 in the morning. It centers around Scarlett Marlowe, an alchemy student who watched Harry Potter one time and is now obsessed with finding the Philosopher's Stone. How obsessed is she? She jackasses into Iran to find the Rose Key minutes before it's supposed to blow. The Rose Key holds Aramaic scripture that's supposed to help her find the stone, and it seems like merely looking for the stone is already bringing visions of her deceased father. After your typical brush with death, Scarlett seeks out her ex-boyfriend George, who is also an Aramaic translator. Pretty soon we realize he not only stirred her guts, but also hates them for leaving him in a Turkish jail. He wants nothing to do with her until he learns she found the Rose Key and goes, "Oh, okay, I'll help now." Heading over to a museum as empty as my childhood birthday parties, they find a clue on the back of Flamel's tombstone that basically tells them where the stone is hidden.
Wow.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's not go to jail cool, but that's really cool. Wow.
Get your camera.
Winged vulture leads the way with brightest light in darkest day. Underneath the heavens reign. What is lost shall be regained.
What is lost shall be regained.
What is lost shall be regained.
So that is underneath the night sky, or in the open?
Or on the tablet. There's a night sky right on the tablet.
Yes.
I definitely think this is a great scene because we get to see the chemistry between George and Scarlett, and we get to see who they were and how they interacted with each other before the events of this movie started to happen. They learn that the stone is buried 370 feet below Flamel's grave and that the best way to get there is through the catacombs. However, since the people of France have the common decency to block off the pathway to hell, the tour guide option is a dead end. That is until this guy tells them to find someone named Papillon, and before giving more useful information like where to find him, he just disappears like your boyfriend when you miss your period. One of my favorite things about these kinds of horror movies is that as soon as something or someone just disappears, they brush it off way too fast and they don't really give it a second thought. Like, maybe pay attention to that a little bit more. That's probably not a good thing to have experienced. Fast forwarding a bit, Scarlett, George, and Benji find Papillon in a club and convince him to guide them to the no-no area of the catacomb in exchange for the treasure. But he'll soon learn that the treasure is the friends he makes along the way. Now with Papillon, Zed, and Suxi added to the menu, the crew can make their way underground. At this point, we know that at least 3 of the group have a few skeletons in their closet. For example, Scarlett's dad committed suicide, George's brother drowned, and Papillon has a weird burn mark on his hand. Escaping the feds by going into the tunnel, the group explores through its network.
There is always some weird peoples down here. You're not kidding.
They come across a pathway that'll save them hours on the trip, but Papillon loses his shit and says climbing over the bones is the best way to go. Try telling that to Benji.
No, just go! Damn it! God! Why are they singing? Why are they singing this song? Just tell them to shut the up! Come on!
After going over the human remains, the caves say fuck you and puts them back where they started. One of the things that I love about these kinds of horror movies is that even with the glaringly obvious feeling that something's wrong, the characters always choose to ignore it. Papillon straight up tells them that it's impossible for them to have ended up where they started, and no one decides to take that seriously, like my girl Scarlett, who don't know how to quit and goes through the other pathway, the no-no pathway. Into the next room, we catch a glimpse of your dad sleeping after bragging about being awake since 5. They eventually find the treasure room that holds the Philosopher's Stone.
Holy shit!
And while Scarlet is saying some mumbo-jumbo about the sun and the moon, Papillon and friends break into the treasure, which is rigged to be a trap. Having no choice but to keep going down, the group eventually comes across a tunnel with the inscription, "Abandon all hope, ye who enters here." Which, to be honest, I've already abandoned all hope my senior year of high school, so I'm good there. It turns out that by going through the tunnel, they cross the center of the earth, making that Brandon Fraser movie a complete lie. Moving on, though, they reunite with Papillon's old friend Letop, looking like he's about to do some serious damage if you get too close. Suxi, proving that being brave comes at a cost, reaches out to him and gets her head bashed on the stone floor. The group tries to heal her with the stone, but learn it can't bring back the dead. I think her death scene here was brilliantly shot, and even though you know something's about to go down, the brutality of the scene is still enough to surprise the audience. Like, you never see that coming, and I think that's absolutely a well-made scene. Having to leave Suxi behind, the group continues to go down, and it's here where we see Benji as the next target.
Good.
A woman jumps out at him, holding a baby in her arms, and before Benji can get CPS on the phone, he falls to his death. Here we get another really vicious kill scene. Characters falling to their deaths is always really hard to watch, I think, because of how brutal and honest a situation like that is. And for them to incorporate that here it just adds to the level of fear and danger that these characters are already in, and I think that's absolutely amazing.
We should keep moving. Let's go. We need light. We gotta go.
Things start to make more sense as the rest of the group moves on to find a burning car with a guy from the tour guide inside. This is meant for Papillon, and when he says it isn't his fault, begins getting sucked into the car.
It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
Now we understand that whatever's haunting them wants them to confess to their sin. It's never actually revealed what exactly Suxi and Benji's sins were, but we can assume that they were violent transgressions or just some kind of betrayal, or they hurt someone in some way. Now down to just Scarlet, George, and Zed, they hurry along the caves, getting cornered by hooded figures that are supposed to be demons and not actually fraternity brothers. Trying to hide as best as one can with your camera lights on, the statues come alive and bite George. Carrying him to safety, Scarlet realizes that she has to rectify the stone and return it. She literally has to retrace her steps back to the treasure room, which is absolutely insane that she didn't get lost along the way. I think at this point it's really interesting to see that the catacombs are coming to life and basically making it harder for her to return the stone, which you'd think the catacombs would want her to return the stone. So it kind of doesn't make too sense why they're making it hard for her, but hey, it's the catacombs. I'm not going to make sense out of them. When she puts that baby back on, everything seems to stop. Scarlet catches her reflection in the mirror and realizes that the power of the stone is now inside her, which is the same thing to happen to Harry Potter. So is that part of the lore?
As above, so below. As I believe the world to be, so it is. Hold on, George.
Making her way back to George, she runs into her father's ghost and apologizes for not answering the phone the day he committed suicide.
Sorry that I didn't pick up the phone that night. you're in that much pain.
The CGI of the dad always threw me off here because it doesn't look quite right. It's kind of like the production crew just kind of ran out of time and they just threw together what they could. But this scene in particular with the dad vanishing always looked weird to me. And it just they just brushed it off. It's really weird. Now with the catacombs off her ass, Scarlet reaches George and with her new superpowers heals him back to life.
How did you do that?
Down to the wire, Scarlet tells George and Zed to confront their sins. And hearing them talk, say what their sins are, I think there's a huge imbalance here. Assuming that Papillon, Benji, and Suxi all really did hurt someone in a physical manner or what have you, it doesn't quite make sense that Scarlet, George, and Zed are to be punished. Like, Scarlet didn't know her dad was suicidal, so how was she going to pick up the phone? Like, that wasn't really her fault. And George literally went to get help for Danny. And while Zed is a deadbeat, he never actually hurt anyone, physically. Also, Zed is the only one who was never haunted. Like, he's the one who had it the easiest out of the whole group. And can you imagine if he confessed to the wrong sin? He confessed about his bastard child, but the catacombs were like, no, we're talking about that tax evasion that you had. They end up jumping down the last pit, hoping the exit is on the other side. They uncover a manhole, and the three hug it out on the streets of France. And I remember seeing this, and I thought it was funny that Zed just wanders off, most likely going home or something. Like, he didn't just go through literal hell to get out. And there you go, you guys. That is As Above, So Below. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, found footage horror. It's absolutely amazing. I think it's a really well done movie with how they did their research, how they stitched everything together, and all that character development. I think that played a huge part in this movie, and I highly recommend it for just a watch, group watch or something, or whatever the case. So this is actually my first video, and this is a whole new area that I'm dabbling in. So I'd appreciate your guys' support by subscribing, hitting that notification bell, pressing like, and just letting your friends know about these videos. I think that'd be really helpful, and I'd super appreciate all the support that I can get. But I definitely have more videos for you guys. I'm definitely getting that worked on, and I'll definitely be letting you guys know what to expect in the future. But for this video, that's gonna do it. This is As Above, or that was As Above, So Below. I'm not as above, so below. I'm a human. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out for more of my videos. I really appreciate you guys, and stay safe.